Welcome to Confessions of Alexa Maxx podcast. My name is Alexa, and I am here with Mr. Lane. So let's talk about sex work and sex workers. Do you personally know anyone in this industry?
Yeah, so I have some friends who are sex workers, SWs, and they've done a variety of different things. Some of them were cam models, some of them were actual escorts, some of them were phone sex operators, and just across the gamut. And also a lot of dancers, strippers, just in general. I just have, and it's not that I gravitate towards those things. I just have a lot of friends. I just know a lot of people, and they all come from a variety of backgrounds, men and women included. And it's saying sex work is empowering, but it's also kind of speaks to how capitalism works in the first place. That it's just a job, and people tend to demonize it by saying it's immoral. But that's subjective. Morality is a subjective term anyway. But we can talk about that. So let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about why you started this. Tell me from the beginning, what were your motivation? What did you think you would be doing at this stage in your life? And how did you get to being a sex worker?
Sure. Great starter question. So one of my friends, we still communicate and whatnot. So he found out that I had OnlyFans, and then he texted me one day like, "Hey, have you thought about doing this?" And I'm like, well, no, I haven't. And I was in the point of my life when I had like less than $1,000 in my bank account. It was like the whole I think it was like the middle of pandemic, and I lived with a friend of mine, and he knew my situation at the time, that I was broke and kind of.
Well, what made you decide to start OnlyFans in the first place?
Extra money, because I was a broke actor at the time, and OnlyFans was like a good side hustle, good way to make money, and just good way to put myself out there, basically, and basically get paid for my beauty, so to speak, like just for my, boobs and other parts of the body. And and it was very empowering, I would say. The fans definitely were very supporting, or whoever was on the platform, and they're like, "Oh, very nice," or whatever they say. And I'm like, you know what? They make me feel confident. And then I met up with my friend who told me about the sex work, and I didn't think of it much in the first place, but then I started making money, and I'm like, wow, why have I not done this before? This is easy. This is really easy money. I actually got out of debt and whatnot, and quite enjoyed.
Say easy work and easy money. A lot of sex workers, a lot of people in the industry don't find it's easy. They find it can be difficult and draining at times. How do you find that balance? Like, how do you make it easy? Like, what's easy to you about it?
I think the market that certain sex workers are in, like basically, if you're a big city, if you're pretty smart girl who does who actually like screens clients and does the business like in a smart way, so to speak, I think she's not going to have a hard time. But if you're like in a small city with families who are, been there for generations, like towns where everybody knows each other, I think that's going to be hard. But I'm lucky that I'm in a market where it's a mixed diversity of races, of LGBT community, married men and whatnot. It does sound, sex work is hard, but I think it's all about the marketing, how you market yourself.
So for anybody listening right now who may not know more of your background, you obviously have an accent. Where were you born?
So I was born in a small town in the country of Ukraine, and my mom, she was a mail order bride, and she met a guy from a marriage agency who invited us to come to America. So here we are.
How long have you been in America?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, good. That's some context for some of the listeners who may not know exactly your background. So yeah, we were talking about the money aspect of it. Did you do other jobs before this one, and how did they compare money wise?
Oh, yes. So I worked at Starbucks, worked at
Shout out Starbucks.
yeah. Yes, I did work at the grocery store. It was called Dollar General. And then let's see, Phantom Fireworks. Oh my God. Like basically any job that you can think of, I probably did that, like from receptionist to caregiver. And money-wise, those jobs, they required more time, they required more energy, and they paid way less, like starting from like 7.25 an hour to 15 an hour. Yeah, 15 an hour is the most I got paid before sex work. And sex work obviously can pay from. So the average girls do is like 300 per hour. And then it can go up until like 1,800 is what the highest amount that I found.
What's been the highest rate that you've been paid so far doing this?
700.
700 per hour.
Yep.
Okay. So I've had some friends who have done it, and they've been around the $400 and for an hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the most expensive of my friends that I've known who've done this kind of thing. But this person, since I don't have permission to say what her name is, I'm not going to refer. But I will say that she is somebody in the adult industry anyway. So she's an adult industry worker, and
nice.
she's somewhat famous. But she's a professional sex worker. I mean, she not only works as an escort from time to time, but she also performs in videos and does. She's not a feature dancer. She doesn't strip, but she does make movies. And she's made a lot of movies. And she's a Googleable person. You can Google her and say, "Oh yeah, I know who this is." But anyway, obviously, this is still a taboo subject because it is technically illegal. You know, we're talking about this in sort of an open channel, and it's not like creating, movies or any kind of like entertainment. It's actual. Well, parts of it are illegal. I mean, technically, it's not against the law to have a companion that you spend time with, and you can compensate. That is legal, but anything else beyond that is, against the law. So, how do you deal with that aspect of it?
I try to separate, so to speak, the real me and Alexa, and like with, for example, with clients, I always screen them, like. For example, like I ask social media profile, selfie with ID, and of course deposit, which we're gonna talk about later. But that way I can Google them. I can be like, okay, he's not a cop, he's not a serial killer and whatnot. And because like cops never like provide any info about themselves, and so there's that. And whenever I go out on dates, so to speak, I always try to dress conservative, and I always put on a wig, so just to like be in disguise and whatnot. Yeah, and I always go to verified websites on which I promote myself.
Do you have a contingency plan in place to deal with legal situations that you may find yourself in at some point?
I know a few lawyers who I know will help me out, but let's see, I usually like have, baseball bat, gun on standby. No, that's a good question. I haven't actually thought about that. Of course, that always worries me. I always listen to my gut and whatnot, see if I could end up in a situation like this. But no, something I need to think about.
There's a war right now on sex workers and anybody in any kind of, and making air quotes here, people who can't see me at home, the entertainment industry, and that includes dancers, cam models, OnlyFans girls, anybody on a Fansly site, anybody that's a paid entertainer. And you mentioned OnlyFans earlier, and they recently got into some trouble with their base because they were going to take away aspects of erotica and explicit
Yeah.
content. But then they reversed that decision, and the basis was that there are certain providers, certain credit card transaction companies that were going to, not to get into all about OnlyFans, because I'm not an expert. I just know, from the consumer aspect of it and the content producer aspect, is that they were going to take away the right to charge with this particular credit company because pressure was put on them by religious groups.
Yep.
And it all comes from trafficking. So have you ever had any experiences with the trafficking aspect of it? I mean, is that a reality or is that just people talking?
No, I know a girl who actually has been trafficked and arrested for prostitution, but even though she's an escort, but yeah, and basically they didn't help her for a long time and she was fine. But yeah, she just tries to be careful now. But trafficking is out there, definitely sex trafficking, and I just feel bad for those people because some of them got thrown into this industry and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, but I don't think it's being addressed in the right way right now. I mean, it seems like the whole trafficking issue is just a way for religious groups and conservative groups to get a foothold into a way they can control. And they've been trying to control porn and explicit content since the 70s, since a lot of the stuff first came out. I mean, you might know about The People versus Larry Flint, the movie they made with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Larry Flint, the pornographer, the creator of Hustler magazine, who was tried for obscenity several times and then came out on top. Freedom of expression. And let's be clear too, there's a difference between being a prostitute and an escort.
Yeah.
An escort is somebody who's compensated for their time and their activity. So like if I was going to go to a museum premiere or like a museum event and I wanted somebody to go with me, I could hire somebody to escort me there.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. There's nothing illegal about that. If I wanted to have intercourse with somebody for money, that's technically prostitution and that is illegal. But if they're two consenting adults, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's go back a little bit to what we said earlier. You were making money doing OnlyFans, that kind of thing. Were you ever looking at any other like sites, any other places that you could do that with?
I'm thinking about, I registered on ManyVids and other websites instead of OnlyFans, just to make an extra income. But
Okay,
thinking of doing websites.
gotcha. So you said ManyVids. Are you creating content? Is it solo content or with other performer? Or?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. So I mostly do, say 80% of my OnlyFans content is solo, and then 20% is with somebody else. So like boy, girl videos.
Have you considered getting into any kind of like fetish type stuff? I mean, have you any requests for that?
I had, yes. I had a guy who was into feet and like to put on women's lingerie. So that was interesting. And then I had another person, and of course, like for their safety and, I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, I had a guy who was into pegging. So that was an interesting experience for me. I'm like, okay, I have not done this. Let's do this. And plus I'm getting paid for it. So might as well.
That seems to be the great big joke with the religious right about homosexuality or any kind of pegging, which pegging is not entirely a homosexual act. It's not, it can be heterosexual, but the whole point that, God put the male G-spot in the anus, which is yeah. Anyway, so moving along, that's great that you getting areas that you can express yourself and continue. How has the money been comparing the online platforms to in-person activities?
Oh, in person it's so much better because on OnlyFans I would say I make average of say 180 a week. but it can be as low as like $20 a week, whether with escorting or sex work. I mean, I would say I make more than $1,000 in a week with that in-person sessions. So, yeah.
So when you've come out to people that you know about this in your personal life, what's the reaction? What's the general reaction been from people?
So this is actually interesting because most of my friends are guys and they were very supportive. And let's see, I came out to, well, didn't come out, but one person found out. Then I had like a CV date, so to speak, one time, and he was just not supportive at all. And then another person who was a little bit confused, a little bit conflicted. I know it's like another CV date, civilian date. Oh yes, for listeners, CV date is a date where I'm not getting paid. Like a regular date, but
civilian, right? There's civilians and there's people in the industry. There's a difference, right?
Yes, yeah, but most of the time, everybody's been supportive. My mom, she was disappointed and sad, but I think when I buy her a house, she'll be like, okay, you do you. You do what makes you happy, Alexa.
So that's part of the thing too. People tend to say about, talking about like regular dates versus compensated dates. I always heard the old saying is, you take a person out on a date and you pay for dinner, you pay for a movie, you pay for, all the things that you normally pay for, with the expectation of, would I or would I not? Are we going to? Is it going to happen?
Get it later.
Right, exactly. We're, to be blunt here, but then when you have, somebody that you know for a fact that you're going to, like, for example, the one place where in the United States where it is legal, in Pahrump, Nevada, for example, because Nevada, it's legal in Nevada, but you have to be as like a certain capital. There has to be a certain cap on the number of population in the county for them to have it, keep it legal. So if you can't technically go to Las Vegas, and hire someone, you have to go outside the city to the nearby town of Pahrump, where the brothels are, and work with them. And so that's what they'll say is if they pick you up from the town and drive you out there, they'll say, for sure you're going on a guaranteed date with this person, and you're going to get laid at the end of it. And you be spending a relative amount of money in between if it's a good date and you're not a cheapskate. But I know when I first met you in your personal life, I will say that you and I are personal friends. You mentioned sugaring really briefly early in our conversation. And I told you about when I was a cam model a long time ago.
Yeah.
For our listeners, I was a cam model for a very short period of time in 2015. And so I understand that, it's some people are like, oh, that's cool. Some people are like, oh, what's, interesting, because I've had to talk to people about my past as a cam model too. And some people have been cool with it. My parents were confused when they found out, and they found out in the craziest way too. I was staying with them at the time, and I had received a check, and most of the time I had been compensated through direct deposits, but for some reason something happened and I had to get a check. I wasn't there, and my dad and I share a name, and he thought it was his check, and he was like, why do I have a check for this amount of money? And he had to research why, and he called the bank, and they said, this is for this account. He's like, what is this for? And they had to basically explain to him what the company was and what they did.
Oh, crap.
And after that, they were just like, well then. And so, my mom was worried about, other people finding out for my well-being, not for hers, but she doesn't really care. But she was worried about people accepting, that I had done this. And my dad was cool. He basically said, I don't care how people make their money as long as they're taking care of themselves and they're being careful, which is, a good way for, I think, a parent to be in the long run. Anyway, So yeah, that's a little bit of our shared background right there. But yeah, so what are your goals for this?
I want to like with this work or
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically I just want to be financially independent, financially free, um, get a house on the beach preferably, or live abroad. I think that would be really cool, because with the things that have been happening in America, I'm just like, what, I'm just gonna go back to Europe. But yeah, basically get a house, probably get a little house for my cat because I love him very much. Get a build like a, so I'm like a animal activist, so to speak, like at the level 1. um Eventually my goal is to get a sanctuary where a lot of abandoned animals, a lot of um neglected animals, abused animals, would I basically kidnap them and they will live happily ever after in my sanctuary. Then let's see, by the time maybe like 5 years into the future, I hope I would get to work on a TV show or have an acting career, because I don't imagine myself doing sex work for a long time. Let's see, that's another goal. Then another goal is to help out my mom, and get her a place to live, and keep her close and whatnot. Hopefully have a husband by that time. Um, yeah, so I think this is, yeah, let's see, house, husband, take care of mother, and yeah, have enough of money to basically not worry about money anymore, not worry about being broke.
Are you meeting with a financial strategist or making any kind of like long-term investment plan to meet those goals?
I'm investing in stocks, and currently I'm taking the real estate classes. So
Really?
that would help me save up, because real estate agents are pretty like wealthy. I mean, depending how good they are, depending in their market.
Well, I've always been told that real estate is certainly a hustle, and
Yeah.
what you're doing is the ultimate hustle. In fact, it's where we actually get the word hustler from.
Hustler.
What you can't see, people at home, what I'm doing now is I'm going to IMDb and I'm going to Game of Thrones
Mhm.
because there was an actor on actually a couple actors on Game of Thrones who, when they before the show came out, I'm trying to get the name of this person. Before the show came out, one of them was actually a professional escort or lady of the night or whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
and she was hired to be on the show as one of the brothel workers in
Oh,
we know the little
yeah,
thing brothel, and let's see what she was in, who this person was. Make sure I get it right.
that is interesting.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna be able to get exactly who it is, but we can pull it up for another show. But she
Okay.
was hired to be on the show, and she became a series regular, and she transitioned from that world into the entertainment world. And so there actually are a lot of professional actors who have their start in adult work or sex work. The most famous one that people don't tend to talk about as much anymore because it's been 40 years
Mhm.
is Sylvester Stallone.
Yes, that's I was gonna mention. Yes.
Right. Yeah. He was it oh, I can't even remember the name of the movie he did when he was a struggling, starving actor.
And then he
But
did a
like
porn movie
he did
where,
a poor movie, yeah. And he and I saw it years ago just somewhere and I was like, oh, okay.
oh,
But he some of the money he earned from that he's able to put towards the filming of Rocky, which is what he's known for, his independent film Rocky.
yeah.
And there's, I mean, Tracy Lords, is infamous for her career, and she's been able to transition, her fame. She was probably the original reality star, where she took her infamy of doing underage pornography and then becoming a working mainstream actress.
Mhm.
And then on the other side of that, in this day and age, you have Maitland Ward, who worked for the Disney Channel on Boy Meets World for years. And
Yeah.
in her 40s, she came out. We use the word coming out. She debuted as an adult performer with the intention of being in adult work and being an exhibitionist and exploring her sensuality,
Oh,
which is important. I mean, it's important if you are a sexual person, and it's fine if you're not, because
yeah.
it's okay to be who you are, to be able to express that in a healthy manner, and not have anyone come down on you for it or to give you a hard time.
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting a lot of different information out there. What are some things you would like people to know about where you're going with this?
I just want to break the stereotype about how sex workers are, taken advantage of, how they're exploited and whatnot. I mean, I know there's like sex trafficking going on, but that's different from sex workers. And I just want people to realize that it's not as bad as it sounds. Like if it, because a lot of sex workers, they're stay-at-home moms. Some of them are college students who are saving up for college because colleges are really freaking expensive right now. And let's see. Yeah, I just want people to be more accepting of this industry.
What is the stigma? You mentioned that there's a stigma. What is the stigma?
Stigma that sex workers are exploited.
Well, you said you wanted to end the stigma. Which stigma did you want to end? Like, what is the stigma that you want people to stop?
Oh, stop like assuming that sex work is bad. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. What would it take for people to accept that more, do you think?
The more we talk about it, the more accepting they will be. I feel like they need to keep like an open mind about those kinds of things and not get offended by anything, because people are getting like, they take things too seriously nowadays and get offended by a lot of stuff. And I think I'm going slightly off topic with this.
That's okay. What would you like to see happen is it in the media, or is it like a legal thing? Like where is the greatest change need to come from to end this stigma?
I hope to change people's minds about the industry, and I would love for sex work to become legal thing, because it is consensual. I mean, you're not murdering anybody while having sex with a stranger. There are situations out there, but it's not common at all. And I just hope that people will legalize it.
Okay. Are you aware of any efforts of lobbyists to work towards that? And I remember the Free Speech Fund, or the Free Speech Organization, a few years ago. This is going to be so bad that I have to like go back and look at these references for this interview. It was the Free Speech Coalition, was a group of lobbyists that helped legalize and keep legal the filming of pornography. And some of their work, like they also had legal defense funds set up for people who were arrested for working in sex work and decriminalizing it. You should take a look at that and see if there's any way you can meet more lobbyists and meet more lawyers and see where they stand with this, because people, I mean, if you organize around that idea and create a network of people who can research that and help that, then I think you'll go a long way to getting that stigma ended.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you some more questions basically about what you have in your story. Like we talked about some of the negative aspects of it. What are some of the positive? Like, tell me about some times you've had that made doing this worthwhile.
People
Okay.
People are very nice because, okay, so when I first started, I met nice guys, but some of the guys were like stupid and just not respectful. But the just meeting people from different backgrounds, hearing their stories, hearing how they got to, hire a companion, and because a lot of these guys, they have marriage problems. They some of them just work all the time and don't have time to get a girlfriend or to go on dates. Let's see. Second thing is money. Money helps out. Pay the bills, pay the rent, get out of the student debt, um, help you save up for retirement, and the positive aspect. Let's see what else. I feel lucky and in a weird way privileged to be doing this because I get more free time towards doing the things that I always wanted to do. Like the other day, like I took some katana sword lessons, and doing doing the regular job, I would never have, had a chance to. Or, gosh, yes, doing the bucket list wishes because I always wanted to go skydiving, and now I actually have money for it. And let's see, having money, yeah, being like financially stable, financially independent, not worrying about, oh my God, how am I gonna pay for my rent next month? I don't have those problems anymore. And I noticed that at this work, I never had like a real problem or never cried at the job. Whether when I worked in the service industry, I had to deal with a lot of rude clients, or I'm sorry, rude customers. And I just remember crying a few times while I was at work. And yeah, never happened with this job.
Is there a particular client experience that stands out that you're willing to talk about, or you have the freedom to talk about, that would give some context to what your, average experience is like?
Usually, guys come to me or I come to them. So guys come to me and they either have like bottle of nice wine or like a gift, and we just chat, and some of them are really, really, really nice, and they ask me about like stuff about me, like, and they actually listen, and they and I love it when they say your pictures don't do justice, and you're one of the best girls around here. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. And also one of the other aspects that I actually get to travel around, and yeah, and I love traveling, and just like to national parks or really nice hotels with the nice pool, and yeah, I'm starting to not like trail off, but yeah, traveling is nice.
All right, Alexa, stay focused. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
This is your interview. You can do whatever you want to, say whatever you want to, and say how you can say it is up to you, Alexa. What would you like? What would be your ideal date with one of your clients? Describe that.
Oh, if we go to like Europe to dine in at the very nice restaurant overlooking the Eiffel Tower, and go to opera. I've never been to opera.
The opera.
The opera.
Not Oprah Winfrey.
So making fun of my accent. But yes.
I thought you said that at first. I was like, oh, you want to see a taping of her show? I don't think she makes those anymore. And then I realized you meant the opera, like the Phantom of the Opera or Madame Butterfly or
Yes.
the Flander Mouse. Okay.
Yeah, nice dinner. Opera, opera, and oh gosh, maybe like a nice, very, very nice hotel that overlooks the entire city, and we have fun and whatnot. And it's like very central. And okay, get enough topic, get enough topic. Yes, that would be the ideal date. Oh, and we do something crazy like go rescue animals from the zoo and or go to a creepy place, like a haunted place. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. Okay. So do you have plans on working in Europe? I mean, you have your Asian roots, not your Asian, as in you.
I see a lot of Asians, yes.
Yes, exactly. I'm not trying to say you are Eurasian. I'm trying to say you have connections in Europe. Do you have plans on going back to Europe to work soon?
Yeah, I once I save up more money, once this whole COVID thing clears up, I probably would go to Europe. I mean, because why not? I'm sure people would love to see some cool Russian chicks and just to travel. Like, even if I don't go there for work, I would still love to explore Europe because I've always wanted to go to Europe and think it's a great country. Well, sorry, great continent that has a lot of great countries with a lot of history and just a different way of life.
What have you thought about? And
It's okay.
there's a lot of editing with this, as the very first podcast. Oh, it's okay. We'll get over it. So what I'm trying to say is, you mentioned ManyVids and you mentioned your OnlyFans. Have you considered getting into the content creation business as another side hustle to the professional dates that you go on?
I've thought about, applying as a porn star just for, extra money, and why not?
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for them to email me because they have not emailed me, and I'm wonder why. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. What companies have you been looking at? Are you allowed to say?
I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say. I just can't remember the names. I just Googled like apply for a porn star, and I just kind of researched it and applied.
Do you test regularly for STDs?
Yes, test
Okay.
every month.
Every month? Okay. And is it like a full panel test or is it just like your simple blood test? Like what do you test for? Like full panel? Okay. I know that I'm asked because a lot of industries, a lot of the adult industry companies will only entertain working with someone who has a history of full panel testing. Because HIV and AIDS is like the most deadly disease you can contract from sexually transmitted disease. And if an industry, if a performer has that and they get involved and it's not caught, then it can be a huge problem, especially for scenes and performers who work without condoms or any kind of protection. So yeah, it's just something to keep in mind too. And also too, I mean, I guess, do you when you do have work with clients, what are they protected? Do you insist on protection? Like, is that how you do?
Yeah, like I because 5 minutes of a good time is not worth having a disease for the rest of your life. So I tell everybody, and doesn't matter if they're clean or not, there's always a risk of pregnancy, which I had quite a few times. But yeah, like I never do bear. It's always protected, like even like for blowjobs, it has to be covered because yeah, I only do it bear with one person in my life, and I'm not gonna say who it is.
Okay.
just like with personal. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you, how do you, which is another question I'm interested in. How do you separate your personal um, love making and personal things like that from professional work? Like, is there easy to do that?
I don't know. So I kind of just get in the zone when I'm Alexa, and then I don't know because I know some girls they like to act like, when they're like a Brooke or Ava or other escort names, they like to act, but I don't know, I'm just me in both of those. But at work, I tell people to call me Alexa, and in personal life, like obviously they call me by my real name, but um, in personal life, I dress as me, I dress comfortably. In professional life, I dress more sexy.
Mhm.
And let's see how I separate those. I schedule. I love to schedule. Organize my schedule. So like 10 to 4, I work, and then after that, do auditions, or what else do I do? Oh yeah, auditions and stuff like.
So speaking of auditions, what does your agency or your representative think about all this? They have an opinion, or what's going on with that?
Oh, I hope he does not know and he won't find out, because I feel like I will get dropped out. But I had a quotation marks manager who found out I had OnlyFans, and she dropped me. And I'm like, well, what does this have to do like with me acting and whatnot? And I thought it was just very hypocritical of her. But um I was going somewhere with this. I forgot. Yeah, I told her like, hey, look, I'm broke. Like I was broke. I needed money. It has nothing to do, like this work has nothing to do with me being a shitty actor and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay.
And I hope my future agents will not find out about this either, because there is a line. If it will come out eventually, like fine, like can't do anything about it. So
Well, I mean, we know there's a pretty good chance. So someone once said that if you ever do this kind of thing, people are always going to find out. Like everyone finds out eventually, and whether it's somebody doxing you because they're vindictive or it's just an accident,
yeah.
it's kind of like the whole lawyer thing. What's your plan in case this happens? So I guess maybe or figuring out one of those, or maybe having a discussion with future representation going forward, or making a decision that, hey, I'd like to be this kind of performer and I'd like to do this kind of work, and if you are going to represent me, then you have to accept that, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, there are lots of stars and actors and professionals who do work in both places. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I don't think she does it anymore, but there was an actor. Oh well, you know what? I'm not gonna remember what her name is, so I'm not even gonna go there anymore. So there are actors who do sensuality on camera,
Yeah.
and they do things after the fact. They've done their work. Like Melissa Benoit is a good example, who plays Supergirl for the WB, or
Mhm.
not for the CW. The WB is not even around anymore. The CW, but her one of her breakthrough performances was on Homeland, where she played a potential escort that was going to be hired by the one of the Saudi princes, and she had a topless scene, and it was a very suggestive scene. But that was almost 5 or 6 years before Supergirl.
Nice.
In fact, that was actually an episode of Homeland that I was an extra in, and I got to meet the cast and crew, which was kind of cool. I did not meet Melissa Benoit, but anyway, she was in that, and now she's been Supergirl, and so she's even had some leaks where her and her husband had some pictures of them, while they were engaged in having sex, leak
Mhm.
on Pornhub, and you can see that, and it's good stuff. I mean, but the problem with the problem with the fappening and the leaks and everything is that it's not consensual, and it's granted, it's good stuff, but only good into the point of that it's well done. But on the other side of it, any kind of revenge porn or non-consensual doxing of somebody is
Mhm.
is immoral. Talked about morality earlier. It's a hard line. You can't support non-consensual activity of any kind, and that's something
Yeah.
we really got to work for. Um, do you have anybody that's ever tried to do things against your comfort zone or your boundaries?
Oh yeah. I had two guys who pushed me to do it, like all bear, and I didn't. I had to like literally kick them out um of my apartment because I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it, and I'm not comfortable with it. So yeah, but then yeah, that's about it. I didn't have like super crazy incident um where I was like pushed out of my comfort zone. I actually felt more pressured when doing anything when I was before I became an escort. So yeah.
So when you, I understand a lot of the dynamics of that kind of transaction is a power play. Who holds the power in the situation, you or the client?
Me,
Okay.
yeah, because they're paying me for my time, and if I'm not comfortable, I can take their money, keep their money, and kick them out, and then because I get to decide what is comfortable, and yeah, like they booked with me, so I can do whatever I want. Um, Pretty much, but I try to be nice to everybody, and they're nice back.
You give what you
I don't
you
know.
get what you give, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Even if they're rude, I'm still like taking the high road and smile, and like yeah, not book with them again. So yeah.
Do you have somebody that manages your booking, or do you do it all yourself?
Nope, I do it all by myself. In the future, I probably will hire somebody to to take care of emails, to take care of bookings, because I know a lot of girls do have assistants, and yeah, depends on how crazy my schedule will get. But I like to do everything by myself because otherwise I have to pay them, and I don't feel like doing that doing
Right.
that yet. So
You mentioned your friend that you started doing this with, who was also your driver and
yeah.
bodyguard. Did you what was that relationship like? Like how long did he last working with him? What was going on with that?
So yeah, no, he's great. He's a nice guy, and let's see, he took care of the texting, took care of emails, and um, he took 40%, but he didn't do like proper work. Like he didn't screen clients. He didn't book the hotels I did. Yeah, like he didn't really do a whole lot of work, but we still talk, and it was a mutual decision to like, look, this is not working. Yeah, let's see, and that relationship lasted for like 3 months, I would say, but I've been doing this for 7 months. So
Yeah. What is the difference between doing this and sugaring? Because I know you've
oh
had
yeah.
some experience sugaring before, but is this the same thing or is this something different?
No, so having a sugar daddy is like getting paid a certain sum per week, and you can have sex as many times as you want to, and potentially go on dates, but and you have to rely on that person. Whether escorting is like you're your own person, you can screw whoever you wanted and have sex with anybody while getting paid more, and whether like with sugar daddy, it's most of the time it's one person, but you can have like 4 sugar daddies from what I've heard. But Yeah.
Okay.
In
Do
my
you have you ever had have you had any experience working with, you mentioned fetishes of feet fetishes earlier, and like some guys that did cross dressing and stuff. Have you ever gotten into actually BDSM work?
No, not yet. I want to. I think it would be fun.
Okay. Do
You know.
you have you done any of that? Well, let me ask you another question. This is the
Yeah.
maybe we can finish up. We're getting close to an hour here.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference between your personal experiences versus your professional experiences when it comes to sex? Like, what's the difference?
Oh, it's a good question. Because with my professional life, it's like a routine. Whether with personal life, it's very unexpected.
Mhm.
Let's say the sex thing. Yeah, because like the clients, they know where they're going, they know what they're gonna do. I'm gonna like give them a drink, and then we're gonna but then with personal life, it's we might watch a movie, or we might just cuddle, and we might have sex. It's always unexpected.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to summarize with this particular interview?
Yes. Basically, I just want people to be more accepting, to be open-minded about this kind of work, and it's not as bad as it seems, and it's not as bad as the media makes it, because media lies about all kinds of stuff, especially sex work.
All right. Well, I am Mr. Lane, and this is the lovely Alexa Maxx with three X's in her name to give you an idea of what she's about. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But that is true though. You do have three X's in your name, Alexa Maxx.